Welcome back to the channel, guys, and out on another adventure. Come back down to Cornwall, and there are a couple of reasons for this. I know I've done a Cornwall video before, but tomorrow I have family living in Cornwall, and they're coming down to the campsite tomorrow, and my two youngest grandsons are going to stay over, have their first camping experience, so that's going to be really good. So that's one of the reasons. And my middle grandson has been pestering me for ages to take him camping, so I thought let's just do 1 or 2 nights and see how we get on. Anyway, so I've arrived at the campsite. It's Cambrose Touring Park down near Portreath, and it was fine when I left home, and I got to my son's house and spent a little bit of time there. And then as soon as I arrived on the campsite, the rain started, didn't it? So I got the small tent out. I put the tent up, which was a bit of a challenge in itself, because with the wind, I can best describe it as trying to wrestle with a toddler who didn't want his nappy changing. Okay, so you can probably hear the tent flapping around. So anyway, I got the tent up okay, but there was too much rain for it, and there was water starting to seep in. So I've had to get a tarp out and put that over the top of the tent, and that's what's mainly doing the flapping around at the moment. But yeah, it's pretty miserable out there, and it's been going on for a couple of hours now. So tomorrow is a mixture of forecasts. One forecast says it's going to be sunny intervals all day long, and the other one says there's a 60% chance of rain. So which one do you believe? I've got no idea. So I'm just going to play it by ear. Oh, and another thing. So I decided to go to the local Aldi to get a few bits and pieces for tomorrow, in the hope that I could have a barbecue. And there's a fire engine there, and they'd evacuated the building. So I've had to turn around and come back to the campsite. Oh my God. You couldn't write it, could you, eh? Right, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and get on. Hope you guys can see me okay. It's 9:30 on the first night, and the rain has stopped, but the wind has picked up, and the tarp has just flown off. Well, I say flown off, it blew off. I couldn't get it back on over the tent again. I've just had to fold it up and dump it in the car. It was just flapping around too much, and I've had to go around the tent, and I've had to put heavy duty pegs all around, but even so, there are gusts well in excess of 50 miles per hour, and there are kids crying across the camp field, obviously scared out of their wits with the sound of the wind and the tent materials flapping, and oh my God, it's not very nice. I've put my son and his wife on standby in case I need to abandon camp and just leave everything here and go off to theirs for the night, and then come back in the morning and survey any damage that there might be. But I'm hoping it's not going to come to that. Oh my God. Right, I'm going to have to go outside again now and just check everything. Well guys, I survived the storm. Yeah, that wasn't a pretty night. Tent survived, everything survived. More importantly, I survived. It's a couple of days later, the day after the storm, my family arrived. I had 2 days with them, which I wasn't going to film. And now they've gone back home to do their thing. And I've now got 4 days to go and do a bit of exploring. And I'm going to explore the north coast of Cornwall. Now this is an area that I used to live here back in the 1980s. And there are lots of places that I haven't been to since I was here. So I thought I would come and have a look. And so I've started only, well, less than 2 miles from the campsite, which is near Portreath. And I'm at Portreath Beach. And there's plenty of surfers out. It looks like there is a good bit of surf. And but there's also over here this headland. And I'm going to have a climb up there, I think. A little hike up there and check out the views from up there. So from Portreath, I'm just walking north, or northeasterly I guess, towards St Agnes Head. I'm not going to go all the way up to St Agnes Head from here, but this whole area, it's like moorland. There's all these really pretty flowers, and it's crisscrossed with paths all over the place. And over in the distance, this is the remains of the old tin mines, which were called wheels, W-H-E-A-L-S. So we just passed one that was called Wheel Charlotte, and because they all had names. Although unfortunately there's no ruins there anymore, but there are a few other ruins, and it's well worth a visit up here. I've been here many times before on various visits when I've been down here visiting family, and I've got here super early in the morning because I like to travel really early, and I've driven down to St Agnes Head and just parked up in the car park overlooking the sea and just stared out to sea, and then taken a walk along the paths out to the tin mines. So just below me down here is Chapel Porth, and then over there are the tin mines of Wheel Coats, as I remember rightly. So there we go.
nice walk from Portreath to Chapel Porth. And the place is filling up, it's getting really busy now. So I'm going to make a move. I'm going to head south along the coast, and I've seen a car park by a cliff overlooking the sea that looks like a nice place to go and put the kettle on. Oh, so, cup of tea made. I'm in a little car park at a place called Hell's Mouth. And I'm sort of halfway, I guess, between Portreath and St Ives, really. And once I've had my cup of tea, I'm going to follow the coastal path down to Godrevy Point, and there's a lighthouse down there. And I'm hoping that one evening, maybe later on in the week, we'll have a nice clear evening and I can come down here, take a wander out to the point and do a time lapse of the sunset, because the sunset is supposed to be spectacular from there. So hopefully I'll get the weather to do that. But for now, it's tea time, and then we'll head off on that hike. So, coming around the corner on the headland, we've got the lighthouse over here, and I'm going to be heading out to that headland over there. Apparently it's supposed to be good for watching seabirds, and it looks like there's a couple of boats out there that take people to have a look at the island and the birds. Let's carry on. Down in this little cove, there's a whole bunch of Atlantic grey seals. Try to get a better shot for you. Oh, so finally I've arrived. My sat nav gave me a bit of a run around. He was sending me around loops and loops of the village of St. Just. And then it tried to take me down this road where I'd have needed a rough terrain vehicle to get down, or a Challenger tank. So that was no good. So I ended up having to swap sat navs, try a different sat nav, and finally I've got here. Now, I was trying to think on my journey here when the last time I did come here, and I think it's much longer ago than I originally thought it was. I think the last time I was here was back in the 1990s when I was the proud owner of a Volkswagen Type 2 doormobile conversion camper van. A machine which, although it was fun when it was working, cost me an arm and a leg to keep on the road. And I think that is when I was last here, sometime back in the 1990s. So just heading up to the Cape itself, which is just there. Wow, imagine living there with the views over here. Steep ascent or gentle approach. I'm going to chicken out and take the gentle approach. This is Cape Cornwall. It's a small headland that juts out into the Atlantic, and it's about 4 miles north of Land's End, near the town of St. Just. And until the first Ordnance Survey in the early 1900s, Cape Cornwall was thought to be the most westerly point in England. And Cape Cornwall was bought by H.J. Hines Co. and given to the nation in 1987. So it's a beautiful day, and I've got plenty of time on my car parking ticket. So I think I'm just going to sit here, stare out to see what I can see. See what wildlife there is. I can see a fishing boat out there tending to his pots. And I used to do this when I lived in Cornwall. I'd go down to the local headland and watch out for seals and dolphins and pilot whales. Whatever came along, really. So it's just nice to be able to chill and do nothing. Out there is the Longship's lighthouse, which was built in 1875, I believe, but it replaced an original lighthouse that was built in 1795. So behind me is a stone circle, and there are lots of stone circles in Cornwall. Many legends and myths about most of them. Now this one is called the Merry Maidens, and this stone circle consists of 19 stones, all about 1.2 meters high, and they're said to be the petrified remains of 19 dancers. These 19 maidens came up to this field, close to the village of St. Burians, to dance. And they were joined by two pipers from the village. So the pipers were playing for the ladies, and then they heard at the stroke of midnight the church bells ringing in St. Berrien. And back in those days, it wasn't allowed to dance or play music on the Sabbath. So the two pipers ran off, and the dancers, the maidens, continued dancing, and they were turned to stone. And then somewhere not too far away is supposed to be the megaliths of the two pipers, but I haven't been able to find them as yet. But these stones are thought to be the Neolithic period, somewhere around 2,500 to 1,500 years BC. But they're all fascinating, aren't they? Don't you think? So my plans today haven't quite gone to plan. I was going to go to the Minack Theatre, and I got there after queuing up on the road for what seemed like ages, only to find out that it's by booking only, which explains the queuing. So you have time slots when you've got to go. If you don't know what the Minack Theatre is, it's an outdoor theatre that was basically carved into the sea cliffs, and they still have regular performances there. Anyway, so if I want to go there, I'm gonna have to book. So anyway, I've come along the coast a bit further, and I'm now in Mousel. Now that's Mousel, not Mousehole. Put the spelling down here. So I'm going to go and have a little look around. So it's been a long day, and I didn't bring my own tea. Well, I did bring my own tea making things, only when I got to Cape Cornwall, I realized I'd forgotten to put the bottle of water. And if there's one ingredient you can't do without, it's water for making tea. So anyway, I found a nice little cafe down here in Mousel, overlooking the sea. And over in that direction is Penzance and St. Michael's Mount. So I'm just enjoying a cup of tea and a slice of cake. Oh, well, there we go. That's a day out. I feel like I've had a bit too much sun. It's been an absolutely glorious day. So back to the tent, and just having a beer and chill out before I go having a shower, and then cook something to eat, and then I'll be back down to doing a bit of editing of today's video footage a little bit later on. So just a chilled out evening, and I have an idea of what I'm going to do tomorrow. I've got to check the weather forecast, but you'll see that anyway. So look, I'm going to say good evening for now, and I will see you guys in the morning. Good morning, people, and a beautiful morning it is too. And now today I've come to a place that I haven't been to in, I can't remember when. I have been here before, but it's so long ago that I just can't remember. So I'm looking forward to being here today. So I'm at Tree Bar Gardens. Now, unfortunately for you guys, this video is already long enough. So if you want to see the gardens and the other things that I'm going to do today, you're going to have to wait until next week's episode, part 2. Yeah, I know, cruel, aren't I? So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it the thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you already haven't. And until next week, happy adventures.